It's that time of year again, isn't it? It's an exciting time of year. I know a lot of y'all thinking, yeah, Easter's pretty exciting, but it ain't that exciting. You don't have kids, right? I'm talking about March Madness. I'm not talking about Easter. It's March Madness, right? People go crazy, don't they? Have you seen? I mean, I don't know how many of y'all are involved in the madness of what they call March Madness, the following of teams, and all these are 66 teams. I guess they play into 64, and the tournament slowly dwindles down, and people are just obsessed, and they're like filling out brackets and taking. I have people who work with me who take days off to go and watch the ball games on Thursday and Friday, so they don't miss a single shot. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I like it because I've always been a basketball nut, but I mean, not enough to take days off work, but I do like my basketball. But the ones that really get me are the people who are just fanatical about their teams, right? This is their year. They say that every year. This is their year. They're going to win it all, right? They know every player on the team, right? They know even the guys who only play that 30 seconds, in a blowout. They know their names. They know everybody on the team. They're fanatical about the team. And they have their favorite player, right? They know all his stats. They know everything about him. And when they talk about him, they get this gleam in their eye like, he's some kind of superhero or something, right? And the coach, well, he's just pure genius. I mean, did you see what he's done with that team? This is his best coaching year ever. He's the very best. And then something happens on him. And then they come across a team who's shooting a little bit better than they are, right? They're dropping in threes from all over the place. And your team can't buy a bucket, right? I mean, don't get any calls from the officials. Everything seems to go south all at once, and they lose. And all of a sudden, that guy that you talked about with a gleam in your eye, who was the hero, he just went from hero to zero in about 3.8 seconds. And that coach who was a genius just became an idiot. Don't you know to call a timeout? I mean, what were you thinking? Right? Heroes to zeros. Doesn't take much nowadays, does it? We like to build people up so we can tear them down. It just seems to be a human occupation. And it happened 2,000 years ago, too. That's what we see. This is Palm Sunday, right? This is the Sunday that we celebrate Jesus' grand entrance into the city of Jerusalem, but it also starts Holy Week. This is the week that Jesus will come in riding on a colt, and people will be laying their clothes, will be laying branches down. They want a king. They want to make him king. I mean, he's at the top. They want somebody who's going to lead them against the occupation, who's going to free them. They've been waiting for this guy forever. And here he is. This is the Messiah. We're going to king you. You're going to solve all our problems. We just know it. But you know what's amazing is they're looking at a snippet of time, aren't they? This entrance into Jerusalem. But you can't look at the entrance into Jerusalem without looking down the road into the end of the week. You can't look at the cheers without listening to the jeers that will come when he disappoints them, when he's not the type of leader that they thought he was. When the Messiah comes in a different form than a military giant. You see, they're looking at a snippet of time. It's kind of like if you were looking at a parade. You most of you been to a parade. Everybody been to a parade? So hopefully you've been to a parade. And you sit, when we were kids, we'd sit on the curb, right? And you see, here it comes. Here comes the float. There's the band. There's those guys in the funny hat driving the little car. There's a clown. And you see it. And for a second, it'd be there, and it'd move on, right? That's from the seat on the curb. But if you were watching that same parade from a helicopter, you'd see it quite differently, wouldn't you? Not only would you be able to see the things that are appearing right in front of you, you'd be able to see where they came from, right? You know where the parade started, the whole route. You can sit there and look down the road, and you can see where the parade ends and where it disbands, right? You can see the whole picture. But we're privileged enough to look at this story from the whole picture, from the riding in the helicopter point of view, where those people were just seeing it as it happened in front of them right then. Right? And so today we're told that this is recorded in all the Gospels, that Jesus makes this entry. This grand entry into Jerusalem. And the people are cheering. They're going crazy. But at the end of the story, it says that Jesus goes to the temple. And he stands there and he looks around. And he observes the temple. I wonder what was on his mind. It's late in the day. Not much going on there. I wonder if he had already decided to confront the money changers the next day. I wonder if that anger was already starting to dwell inside him. Because we know from the book of Matthew, we read the story of how he goes into the temple, right? And the money changers are there and they're taking advantage of the people, right? They're ripping off the people, buying sacrifices, and Jesus gets upset and starts turning over money tables, and he gets a whip, mass chaos, people running out of the temple. Can you imagine that? The sight of that? Here you go to church and somebody's throwing temper tantrum. Somebody's mad, he's throwing the tables, coins flying everywhere. I know some of you thinking, I ought to pick up the coin. Right? I'd be giving me some of them coins is what I'd be doing. But mass chaos, right? I wonder what he would do if he went to some of our houses of worship today. I mean, some of our houses of worship, and I don't mean to criticize, but I see that maybe their heart's in the wrong place. Where it seems to me they're more concerned about getting money into the plate than they are about declaring the Word of God. And it's not to help people, it's to buy jets and such for the pastor. I mean, I think a whole lot more we flying than tables if Jesus came back today and went to some of these churches. But I mean, that's not for me to criticize, but wouldn't it seem that way to you? But I wonder what was on his mind. Maybe he was sitting there looking at the stones, how massive they were, that made that temple, and foreseeing that it would be destroyed. Maybe that's what inspired him to tell his disciples that this temple will be destroyed. There will be a brick on a brick. And within 40 years of his death, what happened? The temple was totally destroyed. Wasn't it? Or I wonder if he stood there and he pictured the curtain. The curtain that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple. If you saw that curtain being torn upon his death. I wonder how much he saw. I wonder how much he knew. Or if he just sat there and thought about the week that was to come. You ever sit there on Sunday and think about what's coming up that Monday through Friday and say, I just don't want to go to Monday. I wonder if he dreaded it. I wonder if he knew friends would leave him. I wonder if he knew that he would be standing a mock trial. That he would suffer greatly at the hands of the Roman soldiers. That he would be beaten. They'd place a crown of thorns upon his head. That he would carry a cross. And they would hang him on that cross on Calvary. And how much pain he would endure. I wonder if that was on his mind as he stood in the temple courts. I wonder as he looked down the road and saw the week to come, and he saw Judas, who, one of his close associates, one of his disciples, who would betray him for 30 pieces of silver. I guess that's the going price for a friend. How that must have hurt him to know that. How it must have hurt him to know that Peter, the rock, the one he planned on building the church on, would deny him 3 times before the rooster crowed. or that the other disciples would run off, and that Thomas would later doubt even his resurrection. I wonder how much that hurt him. I wonder if he thought of his response. You know, there's an old humorous story about Jesus at the Last Supper, that he had gathered with his disciples, and he looked and he saw Judas sitting across from him, the one who would betray him. And he looked to the left and saw Peter, the one who would deny him 3 times, and saw Thomas sitting directly across from him, the one who would doubt his resurrection. And he looked at the rest of them, and knowing that how they would run off and leave when they came for him, that he knew there was only one thing he could do. And he called the waiter over. He said, "Max, we're going to do separate checks here." But that's not how it happened, is it? No. He knew all those things. He knew Peter would deny him. He told him he would deny him, didn't he? He knew what they would do. But he also knew that they were going to be his hands and feet once he was gone. He knew they were going to slip, but they would come back, right? That he had trained them for 3 years, and he had shared time with them for 3 years, but he had taught them for 3 years. And sometimes he just put up with it for 3 years. But they were ready, and he knew it. And though they didn't fully understand what was about to happen, by the time it was all over, they would. And what did he do? He instituted this thing we call the Last Supper, right? Communion, which we celebrate every week. Remember the words, "This is my body broken for you. This is my blood shed for you." You see, he went through all that for you. That terrible trial in which he was beaten. That trial in which they crowned him king with a crown of thorns. And when Pilate went to try to release him because he could find no fault with him, and gave them a choice of Jesus or Barabbas, the people said, "Barabbas. Give us Barabbas. Give us Barabbas." But what about Jesus? Make him king, right? That's what we said, because that's what we were saying at the beginning. And Pilate did. That's a rough week. That's a hard week. We have to remember Jesus was human. And while I can't speak for you, but I, having foreseen that, I probably would have ran as fast as I could from Jerusalem. They're going to have to find me. But Jesus marched on into the week, knowing that he was marching on to his death. He persevered past the praises. He went through the parade and all the cheers, knowing that he was marching towards Crucify. Crucify. And he did that for you. You see, you can't look at Palm Sunday without looking to the cross and the sacrifice that Christ made for you. That's what Holy Week is about. The palms are important because they signify the beginning of the week, but they're not the final word. Making that kind of sacrifice is something that most of us can't even imagine. I know I can't. I'd like to think I was capable of that, but I don't know that I am. I've never been faced with that situation. But let me give you a modern example of that type of commitment. It was in 2008, the Medal of Honor was awarded posthumously, awarded Navy SEAL Michael Monsoor. Here's just a small part of what George W. Bush said to the family as he was rewarding the medal at the White House occasion. He said, Mike's platoon in Iraq came under enemy fire 75% of their missions. And in most of those engagements, Mike was out front defending his brothers. In May of 2006, Mike and another SEAL ran into the line of fire to save a wounded teammate. With bullets flying around them, Mike returned fire with one hand while helping pull the injured man to safety with the other. In a dream about the incident months later, the wounded SEAL saw Mike coming to his rescue with wings on his shoulders. On September 29th of that year, Mike Monsoor would make the ultimate sacrifice. Mike and two of his teammates had taken a position on the rooftop when an insurgent grenade bounced off Mike's chest and landed on the roof. Mike had a clear chance to escape, but he realized that the other two SEALs did not. In that terrible moment, he had two options: to save his friends or to save himself. For Mike, there was no choice at all. He threw himself onto the grenade. And he absorbed the blast with his body. One of the survivors put it this way: Mikey looked death in the face that day and said, "You cannot take my brothers." I will go in their stead. Isn't that what Jesus did for us? Were you on his mind when he was on the cross? You know, he paid the price for you, for our failures, for our sin. And aren't you glad he did? Aren't you glad for those who are willing to pay the price for us? We call them heroes. But ultimately, Christ was the ultimate hero. You see, people have a tendency to disappoint, don't they? But there's one that will never disappoint you. And his name is Jesus. He didn't disappoint them. He won't disappoint you today. Because he walks with you every step of the way. He's paved the path so that you can enjoy everlasting life in the presence of our Father, our Creator, our Lord. What an awesome thing. But what a costly thing. You see, nothing is free. Nothing in life is free. He came at a great cost to him, of pain and suffering, so that we wouldn't have to. You know, when we look at Palm Sunday, we need to realize all that it means. We can't look at the palms without looking at the cross. We can't hear the cheers without hearing the jeers of the Crucify him. We have to know where this is heading. But don't lose hope. You see, we're not sitting on the curb, and we don't see that step at a time. We see the whole thing, don't we? We get to view the beginning, the middle, and the end. And my friends, place your hope in one thing. Easter is coming. And all of God's people said,